Hey, look at us three.
What's happening? What's happening? How you doing?
Good. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
I feel like I need to sit more to this side. Get my face center of the screen here. Awesome.
Nice and clear.
Nice to have you guys on the call. Thomas, how are you doing? I can't hear you. Your audio is off.
Can you hear me now?
I can. It's very loud.
What is it? Yeah. I can't speak like this.
Okay, cool. No, there's like a. It sounds like there's a sort of echo or something going on your audio. That's better. That's cool. Gil, nice to have you, man. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm alright. And yourself, man?
Yeah, all good. Nice to have you guys on the live. I think this is our first live together.
Yeah.
As this trio.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Been some time. It's been a while, actually.
Yeah, it's been a while. You haven't been on a live in a long time.
A very long time. Hopefully, I'm not a good rusty.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll keep myself up nicely.
Nice. You look good, man. So awesome. I think for those watching, thanks for tuning in. Nice to have you guys here. Yeah, I mean, we're just here to answer marketing business questions. Gil might have some things to talk about. Tom is our, if I have to introduce everybody, Tom is our Google Ads specialist, and Gilbert is our general manager in the agency, VA Media. And yeah, so I thought I'll bring some guests along. We can talk and answer questions best to everybody's potential. And I think there was actually a Google Ads question last week, which I couldn't answer just because I'm not that technical in the deeper into the Google Ads as you are, Tom. So I thought in case we get something, we can have you here ready to fire with some answers. But yeah, I think worst case, just like a chat between all of us on what's been happening. I know Gilbert and I had a nice podcast last week. We spoke about WhatsApp marketing for e-commerce businesses. I think a lot of people on the live might find some value in that. And then Tom, you being on the Google Ads side of things, maybe there's one or two things that's top of mind that you might have seen that's working really well at the moment, that you think people can look into for those small to medium-sized businesses that's running Google Ads. And from my side, if you're watching, please let us know where you're watching from. Drop the questions in the comments. Drop a question, we'll happily answer it for you. We've got two experts who's taken time out of their days to listen and respond. Want to give you the best feedback possible. So if there's any questions, we can get cracking. So yeah, from my side, Gil, touching on our conversation we had last week, WhatsApp and how it is contributing to revenue growth for e-com businesses. Maybe if you will, maybe just give us like a very kind of like a short, condensed recap of kind of like what we had as a conversation. Those podcast episodes will be releasing next week. So for those people who want more information on that specifically, tune in next week for those actual podcast shows where we go deeper into WhatsApp and how it's adding value to our e-commerce businesses and how you can leverage it in order to increase overall conversion rates and just overall profit for the business. So, Gil, maybe you want to start with that.
Yeah. Did you know that 70% of online carts are abandoned? Literally. So WhatsApp can recover about 15 to 30% of those sales automatically. So it's quite a high number. For those of you that do know, that 70% of your visits is abandoned, then it might not be a surprise, but for some of you it might. And I think the power lies in the recovery side of it in order to try and generate those sales. So with WhatsApp, the beauty of it is it can be automated. It's not a case where someone has to sit there and try and follow up to see, hey John, so you left something in your cart. Did you let us know if you have any issues? It's literally a sales agent on autopilot. They will go and recover the cart for you. So each time someone abandons the cart, basically what happens is an automation gets sent out to them within an hour. We found that the conversion rate is much higher if you send it a lot sooner, within the hour, and not wait for maybe 2 hours or 3 hours. The longer you wait to send a reminder, abandoned cart, the chances decrease of you converting that consumer, because as you can imagine, consumers get distracted, consumers get busy, consumers have things to do, and maybe it was a case where they just had to attend to something else in the moment where they wanted to purchase, and they just didn't get a chance to. So the last thing you also want is for them to get distracted by another brand selling something similar, or another brand selling something even better, and you never got your chance to really follow up to try and get that sale. So within an hour, we see that conversion rates are much higher, especially when talking about conversion rates as well. The thing with WhatsApp abandoned carts and automations, what we're talking about last week, is that on average you could be generating anywhere between 5-10% even on conversion rates if you do if your messaging is right, your timing is right, you have a good offer, so those metrics are possible, and you'll find that maybe on email, for example, it might be a case where you could be converting anywhere from about 4 or 5% as well, but maybe 2 to 5% somewhere around there, where conversion rates can be higher on WhatsApp. So I think the beauty of WhatsApp is because it's an instant. You're on an instant messenger, firstly, right? You're on a platform that at least 90% of users are actually, as a social media channel, it is the most used social media channel currently, and then comes in the likes of Facebook. So it's already a channel that South Africans are glued to, if you will, and it's a very speedy channel. So in terms of receiving that message and also just replying to the message, if, let's just say, a consumer had a question or wanted to get an answer about something, the answers are much more instantaneous, and they know that likely going to receive and engage with someone on the other end, and that expectation obviously is there, but that also gives them the incentive to actually converse, because they know that on the other end there's likely going to be a quick reply, because essentially what WhatsApp replies are more instantaneous than, say, an email that gets sent out. So there are also these advantages which inadvertently make the consumer want to reply and engage with you. And that in and of itself can also be a benefit, because then you're having more people engaging, but then also directing those conversations to where ideally you'd like to get them to convert. So yeah, I mean, just rounding it off, there's some automations that you can do basically when it comes to WhatsApp to try and recover sales where people are abandoning, in addition to possibly your other efforts where you're doing email marketing as well to recover those cards.
Well,
here you're just adding on top of it.
Yeah, so I think we actually had a question while we actually, I think maybe this person heard what we were saying. I think it's Sarah, someone. So she said, like, what's the best way to reduce cart abandonment? So we've been speaking about WhatsApp out of context to this conversation. And we've been saying like WhatsApp it's not something a lot of people use for cart abandonment, and it's actually quite powerful. So the traditional ways of doing cart abandonment, if you will, Sarah, was mainly email. So the best way to reduce cart abandonment was to have email automations fire and communicate with those people on what makes the product so unique, what is the company doing differently, what is the vision of the business, who's the founder, all these things that can psychologically connect with the person on the other side, to get them to feel comfortable to spend money with your business. So that's really what abandonment is all about. Is like you need to now convince someone expressed interest, but they're not fully convinced that the money that they're going to spend is worth it. So your cart abandonment strategy is filling that gap. So it can fill the gap on helping them build trust, credibility, and getting them to better understand the value of the actual product. Now, with that said, the most common way was email marketing. Like Shopify's got a couple of default templates that you can use. But obviously there's tools like Omnisend and Klaviyo specifically for e-commerce businesses that is amazing at converting those abandoned carts. Now, Gil, we spoke about this last week, but I think you said like the average abandoned cart recovery rate's about 4 to 5% across the board for email and stuff like that. And the reason we believe WhatsApp is so much more powerful is because it's almost double that, if I'm not mistaken, you said earlier, right?
Yeah, so on average, you can recover anywhere between 15 to 30% on WhatsApp alone. That's huge for the recovery. Yeah, so it is a bigger chunk. But again, if you couple the two together, it's a powerful marketing strategy, and you find yourself probably getting back a lot more, lost revenue than what would have otherwise just be left there hanging without any sort of initiative.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So no, awesome, man. So I think from our side, email is still the way to go, but WhatsApp is obviously something you add on top of that. And if you're tuning in, guys, I just want to say, like, please drop your questions in the comments. Let's answer it for you. We're here to help. And we love, obviously, just engaging. So I think I've got a question as well, Tom, from your side. This is someone actually asking about SEO, but they're saying, is SEO still worth it for new e-commerce brands, or should I just run Google ads?
Right.
My question is, like, obviously, there's some context can be shared. SEO takes a little bit longer. Google ads is instant, but maybe give us some insights to what your thinking is.
Okay. So first of all, I am not an SEO expert. That's a different forte, but it's both involved in the Google ecosystem. All right. So SEO, just to recap, it's organic marketing. So where there's no sponsored, no advertising. That's just like organic results. And then, of course, Google Ads is where we focus on sponsored. Now, if you're asking a question of either or, if you could do both, I'd suggest doing both. But of course, if you're a new e-commerce brand, it's unlikely that you're going to be doing both. And in my unbiased perspective, the reason I would say go with Google Ads is, let's say it's a new e-commerce brand. You haven't really tested whether the market is purchasing your product or not. Google will be able to let you put yourself in front of the people that you want to purchase the product, or who are most likely going to purchase your product. And then in terms of the business owner, you get to get more actual real market feedback on whether people are resonating with the product, your offer. Also, the messaging comes into play, the actual visuals of your product. So you're going to get more data and quicker and like sooner than if you went to the SEO route. Because SEO, I don't think of it like more of a long-term investment. So you can do all the work now, but you can start seeing the results in 6 months, 8 months, and so forth. Meanwhile, Google Ads, you launch the ads now, as long as all the ads are approved, and the latest the ads will start like actually being shown to people is the next day, you know. So
Yeah.
if you have the budget to do both, yes, do both. But if you had to choose either or, my main reason for it is so that you as a business owner can get market feedback sooner. Because the downside is if you do SEO and let's say 6 months down the line, you're like, damn, this business isn't really for me, you know. But now,
yeah, so I think it's a valid point. It's like, because you've got a marketing answer and then you've got a business answer, right? It's like depending on the objective of the business, because you've said it so beautifully. It's like if you're starting out, you're most likely going to be bootstrapping, which means you're not going to have huge amount of funds in order to just throw at marketing and hope something works. So you want to maybe take a programmatic approach, where you spend test, because you're unsure if this business is going to work because it's new. So that said, like the marketing answer is, well, if you want revenue ideally as quickly as possible, then Google Ads can generate that revenue. How long it takes is obviously a variable that is not certain for everybody. It's not objective, purely because of the fact that, you know, industries play a role, CPCs play a role, budget plays a role, algorithm plays a role. So there's no guarantee that you're going to have sales from day one, but your ads will be shown to people from day one. And like you're saying, like there will be a specific amount of feedback that comes with that. And that's literally a conversation I had this week. I kid you not. Like yesterday, I had a conversation with a company. It's actually just a good acquaintance of mine. So I went through and just had a bit of a chat. It was like a very informal conversation. And they're quite an established business, like quite really doing really well. Like, you know, we're talking like big numbers, but they mainly focus on B2B. And obviously us being the D2C experts, they were just kind of like questioning, like, do we actually have a D2C business with the products that we're already selling? Like these products are mostly bought by B2B businesses, but is there some of these products that will fit the B2C market? Purely because of the fact that a lot of these people, a lot of those products are suitable for lower ticket consumption. So they sell sound systems. So the very expensive sound systems will be bought by churches and will be bought by hotels and conference centers and places like that. But then they have more affordable speakers that most likely are suitable for the D2C market. So the question they had was like, you know, how do we actually give this a go? So I said, look, from my opinion, it's like you don't want to just throw money at something and hope it works. You want to be a bit more strategic about that approach. So the first thing is to get a site. And literally my suggestion was to run Google Ads, because you want to test the intent of the market. You know, you can go and run Facebook ads for this, but if the objective is to find out if you actually have a product that's actually suitable for the market, then Facebook ads is not necessarily the best way to get the best feedback. Like, because there's so many variables that's going to come with that feedback. Like, did the creative work? Did this work? Did that work? Like, did we target? Like, there's so many amount of variables that obviously come into play to determine if the product is actually suited for direct to consumer. So the best thing to do for them is to actually focus on targeting intent first, which will be Google Ads, and then the question becomes, you know, are people converting, and what does the actual website look like? But once you've got a good website that's psychologically in place, all the bells and whistles are on there, and you know you've looked at descriptions and you've got some explainer videos on what the product actually does and how it compares to other brands, and you've done the psychological improvements on the site, then Google Ads is the quickest way for you to get objective data whether people actually, you know, are in the market for these products or not at scale. Because you might have one or two people be buying it for private use, but the question is there actually mass adoption if you run with the strategy at scale? So that's a beautiful way of putting it, Tom. I think we've got another question here. Andre says, I'm late again. Some more lead time, please, via me to Jandre. Okay, cool. So next time I'll send an hour in advance. I will do that for you, Andre. Hope you're well. Let me know if you've got any questions. And
I heard something.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just on the SEO side of it. I was actually listening to podcasters. Jay, you probably know them, Neil Patel and Eric Sue. And they were actually chatting about the future of SEO. And they were just flipping it and saying, we know it as search engine optimization, but we should start looking at it as search everywhere optimization. Because right now we live in an era where, believe it or not, people are actually going on TikTok and searching for things. They're searching for products. They're discovering products. Even on Instagram, like people are literally actually searching them, and they're using these.
I found
tools now
myself.
that assist you.
You know what happened? It's funny enough you said that, because I never
Yeah.
looked at Instagram that way.
Yes.
Because I'm a millennial, right? So I'm not. You and me, Gil, we're
both in the
millennials,
same
right?
boat.
So essentially, you know, Facebook and Instagram, we were the I suppose the first level of adopters that used Facebook, right?
Yeah.
So we're so used to the old mechanics of Facebook,
Yeah.
and Instagram. So my wife, we were looking for a reel, specific. Someone sent me a reel, and it was really entertaining and funny, and I wanted to show it to my wife, and I didn't know how to get it. So I was like, how do I'm going to go find this reel now? And funny enough, I actually searched on Instagram for the actual reel, and I actually found it. And that's when my mind clicked. I was like, holy shit, like you can actually find products. You can actually find, it's almost like a Pinterest vibe at the end of the day. So it's definitely, human behavior is changing on these platforms. That's for sure.
And I think it's good to think about just the omni-channel side of it. Again, it's just good to know that people are not just going on searching on Google and then expecting to see some search result and click on the link. They're also doing that now on TikTok, on Instagram. So it's almost
on Facebook you can, and on Facebook you have an ad placement that says the search ad placement.
There you
go. It's like
caught on.
Yeah. And obviously in Instagram, you've got the explore tab, which will be shown to people who've obviously been searching for other stuff that they found interesting. So it's definitely becoming part of everything. So Tom, I actually got a question for you from Tabo. It's actually a PMAX campaign question. So this is ideal for you, like almost like divine intervention. Tabo says, about Google Ads, when to run PMAX campaigns. When starting out, should I get search campaign data first? And what is the ideal minimum budget to start with? I'm just going to repeat that for everybody listening. About Google Ads, when should you run performance max campaigns? And when you start out, should I get search campaign data first? And what is the ideal minimum budget to start with?
Yeah. So first of all,
oh wait, sorry.
It's okay. Yeah.
Go for it. I turned off your mic, but go for it because there was a bit of noise.
All right, cool.
Go for it.
All right, what's up, Tabo? All right, cool. So in terms of PMAX versus search ads, the first thing that comes to mind when you ask me that question was the context. So what I mean by that is that what's the business going to be? What's the end goal? It's going to be lead generation. It's going to be for e-commerce. Generally speaking, if you let's say you got a tight budget, right? And you want to maximize your results based what's likely going to give you results on a tight budget. That's the assumption I'm going to go with. If it's an e-commerce brand, search versus PMAX, most of the time, it's going to be the PMAX campaign. From my experience, running search ads for e-commerce compared to PMAX campaigns or shopping campaigns in general, you're less likely going to get sales than you are if you're going to do PMAX campaigns or shopping campaigns. Lead generation, so opposite. Generally speaking, you're going to get more leads from a search campaign rather than a PMAX campaign. Now, it's not set in stone. Of course, you're welcome to test, but I'm just coming from the perspective okay, you're a business owner. I want to be really intelligent with my budget. Which one is going to be the best one? So between the two, in those situations, that is my suggestion. And then you said here about Google Ads, when to run PMAX ads, when starting out, should I get search campaign data first? And what's the ideal minimum budget to start with? So generally, if you can go with 80 to 100 Rand a day with PMAX, you can get some sizable data on getting conversions, right? So that's been in my experience. But now, of course, the more expensive the average order value of your product is, the longer you're generally going to wait to get your conversions. The lower the average order AOV, the more likely you are to convert, right? And just another point to consider, I'm assuming this is from if you're starting your Google Ads account from scratch, there's no campaign data in the back end. Because another thing is that PMAX campaigns, they generally, if there's conversion data in the account, it kind of helps the PMAX campaign because you can target people you can use past data from website visitors as an audience signal. Not to get too technical, but the more data you have in the account, it generally helps you for PMAX campaigns. So that is over there. And also, just a last point, in terms of that daily budget spend, that is from what we've tested for 80 Rand. What's that? Oh, muted.
No, no. You're fine. You're good. Sorry, I made a joke there.
Okay, cool.
Are you done?
You were finishing.
Yeah, I'm done.
You
You're
were,
finishing.
Oh, yeah. So
you were saying 80 rand.
80 rand, 100 rand, you can test it out.
Amazing.
But yeah, 80, let me just say 80 to 120 rand for testing out, because let's say you want to test.
Is there a
Muted
delay?
again.
No, you're not muted.
I was
Who's
muted.
muting you? Are you muting yourself? No, we can hear you.
I thought when I heard you guys muted, I thought I was muted.
Nobody's muted.
Oh, okay, cool. All right.
I think Gil.
All right.
Gil, did you mute yourself?
Okay, cool.
This is the beauty of a live.
I was muting. No, I'm just muted myself so you can hear Thomas nice and clear.
No point. Yeah. So 80 to 120 for testing. And the reason I say that is because let's say you got multiple offers, multiple products. I mean, not to get too in the nitty-gritty as I am to like to get to, but if you want to test one product at a time, you can go that way, or if you want to test a bunch of top sellers at the same time. But yeah, I'd say 80 rand to 120 rand for testing purposes would be a good start for a premium campaign. Google will suggest that you spend more. So Google will likely tell you, hey man, spend more. So,
I think what's important to note is like the more you spend, the more data you can obviously generate, which means the quicker the feedback loop, right? And this is a conversation I had yesterday as well. Is like, what is the objective? Is the objective to test for this company that I was referencing earlier? So it's like, what is the objective? Is the objective to test whether there's actual product market fit? If so, then you want to find the balance between spending too little and spending too much, because if you spend too little, it's going to take you a long time to figure out if there's actual product market fit. If you're spending too much, you might be wasting money while figuring out if there's product market fit. So in essence, you want to find that balance, because there will be diminishing returns if you overspend, and it will take you a long time if you underspend. So it's like, what is the actual amount of spend in order to get to the objective? And I think what you're saying there is like, well, minimum is about $100 a day. If you can get away with that, start with that and see how it goes. Cool. So there's actually a meta question here from Tabo as well. About meta ads, does campaign structure matter in terms of results, specifically for local lead generation? Is there a difference between campaign structure with one ad set in an ad campaign and D2C campaign structure, 322 campaign structure? So I think, I don't know, Gil, if you want to answer this, but I think I'll shed my quick perspective on it. You'll probably be the best person to ask. But on the lead gen side, I mean, I still run the V8 ads for ourselves because I just like doing it, and it's my way of keeping my finger on the pulse of what's happening on the meta ad structures. But on the lead gen side, I'd say the campaign setup is very similar. Like it's you don't have to worry too much about the campaign itself. On an ad set level, that's also quite similar, to be honest, at least from my opinion. There's not a huge difference. We test different audiences. So I'll go, well, let's do interest targeting, let's do lookalikes, let's do open targeting or broad targeting and see what happens. You can obviously choose whether you want to do CBO or ABO, like whether you want Facebook to decide where to spend the money, or do you want to force the algorithm to spend money on a specific group of people. It depends on your objective there in terms of data generation. And then from an ad campaign, I think lead generation is probably a bit more simple, because like with ecom, you've got now these dynamic, obviously you've always got dynamic, but you've got what flexible ads. On ecom, obviously the creative testing is so much more intensive. So I think the biggest difference, and Gil, let me know if you agree, is like probably the Advantage Plus campaigns that obviously you can do for ecom that you don't do for lead gen. As aggressively probably, and then the amount of creatives you actually need to test for ecom versus lead generation in itself. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, no, you mean I'm sharing the similar sentiments. I think I always also just like to keep it, very simple. Campaign structure, I mean, I'm assuming we're also referring to the structure of a top funnel, maybe a middle funnel, maybe a bottom funnel.
Also depends on budget.
Yeah, true. Those campaign structures are still effective. They still work. But also, like Jay said, on an e-com side, you might find that the campaign structure somewhat has become potential for some accounts we've seen has become less effective, because the Advantage Plus campaign is actually doing all of that in one ad set. So you've got top funnel, middle funnel, bottom funnel, but then within the ad set itself, it's actually fulfilling all those different conversion paths and where the buyer is in their journey, but it's just under one ad set. So you won't necessarily have to go and actually build out like different campaigns with different ad sets in there. And we've actually seen that quite a bit happening now with a lot of the e-commerce brands. But I know from a lead gen side, like literally just having a campaign, top funnel campaign, and in there an ad set with maybe just your interest targeting, and then you might still have after that maybe a middle funnel, and in there, targeting people that went to the site, didn't convert in the last, 30 days or whatever, and then you're showing them a specific ad. That still works, but then also it's just a matter of seeing what is effective to converting. Sometimes you find that depending also on your price points and what an individual is committing to, you might find that a low ticket item, you could actually get away with just a very simple top funnel structure, with one ad set in there and a good offer, and you could actually convert really well. But then again, if it starts becoming a more pricier, higher ticket item, you might find that you're going to have to do some retargeting, and you're going to have to bring that into your structures because they need a little bit more convincing. So it also depends on what business you're in and what you're selling and how complicated that service is. If you're selling a service, for example, or that product is if you're selling a high-end product. So I think from my side, I hope I'm also making sense, just to try and answer that question.
Yeah, man, I think that's fine. I think there's so many variables, right? I've realized like there's obviously a formula that you can use to implement, or maybe some form of structure and framework that you can implement across most people starting out. But it's almost like everybody is unique in its own way. And I think this is why experts like us exist. That's why we're in business, because it's like if there was a perfect cookie cutter approach, everybody would try it and succeed with it. But the reality is like there's so many variables that you have to consider. I think on e-com, one thing that we've seen is just like creative testing is just intense. Like it's like
we're becoming a media house at this point,
exactly.
literally.
And I think that's what's going to happen with most agencies. Is like you're going to have to become a media house in order to really deliver the most amazing service possible. And I think we underestimate, especially as the budget increases. Like as the budget increases, a lot more creatives needs to be tested, because ad creative fatigue is a real thing, and it happens quite quickly if you're spending a huge amount of money. So with that said, there's actually another question here. I don't know who's this best suited for, maybe for all of us, but it just says, what KPIs matters most for an e-commerce brand in the first year? I mean, again, like in the first year, that's quite an interesting one. So if you're starting out, right, I think I always talk about numbers. Like your numbers are really crucial. You need to know what your numbers are, and you will then set KPIs based on those numbers. So you need to know what your GP is, your gross profit margin. Like if your gross profit margin, is it meeting at least a 50% standard? Because if you're going to be bootstrapping, and I've made a video about this on YouTube if you guys want to check it out, but it's like, if you're going to be bootstrapping your business, you need healthy profit margins, because ideally it's going to be expensive to acquire customers starting out for most people. Not everybody is going to have a healthy ROAS from day one, even though a lot of clients would think that is something that just happens when you hire an agency. But the reality is that it's going to take time to get a healthy ROAS. So the question becomes, cool, what is your profit margins? What is the operating expenses? And then my KPIs that I would look at is, I would say, the ads that we're running, the creatives that we're running, we need to figure out who we're speaking to and whether that message that we thought was going to work, because we have zero data for a new brand, is actually resonating with the people that we thought it was going to work for. If that makes sense, right? Because it's like if your e-commerce business has been established for 2 or 3 or 4 years, you should have a good idea of who your customers are. So in the first year, you're not going to know who your ideal customers are, like you starting out. So I think the most important KPI that you're going to have to figure out for yourself is, who should I be targeting and what is the cost of selling to those people? And then obviously, is there a healthy ROAS? So we measure ROAS and CPAs and POAS and all these things across the board for any business, no matter how old they are, because those are important. But I think if you're a new business and you're looking for a specific answer tailored to that first year, I'd say, in my opinion, you're going to have to figure out whether the product that you're selling is actually resonating with the people that you think it is for and best suited for. And that you're going to have to do through testing and finding out, like, is the actual messaging and the creative actually resonating with these people? So you do creative testing, you do targeting testing, interest testing, you can run Advantage Plus on open targeting and most likely see some success. But then the question becomes, what messages are actually resonating with the people? So yeah, I think that's what I look for. We've launched about 2 or 3 businesses now from scratch in the last 12 months. And I think those are the things we're trying to figure out first, is like, what message is actually working with these people? Like, what do people want to know? What do people want to see? What are they actually keen on hearing, and what gets them to say yes? I don't know, Gil, if there's any other things you want to add to that, maybe.
Yeah, no, within that mix itself, just trying to understand what works, what products are working well, and how much they're selling, how much are we paying for the customer. I think what you're going to be doing within that first 3 months is actually learning these KPIs. You are going to eventually then establish and see, oh, wait, it's costing me 500 Rand to get a sale for this product, or it's costing me 400 Rand to get a sale from this for this specific product. And what you're going to then start also establishing is, okay, but if it's costing you 400, initially it is going to be high, obviously, because you're starting out, you're still testing a whole bunch of things. But initially, what you also want to eventually figure out is, like, at which point does the 400 start to make sense, or the 600 or the 300 start to make sense? Can you actually afford to keep paying 400 to get a sale that is worth 200, or a sale that is worth 150? And essentially you'll start to realize and learn metrics that are now more tied to your business, and then the return on investment as well. So each consumer, when they do buy, what is that value to you? Is it 800? Is it 900? Is it 1,000? And then you start to, I think these other metrics, the key metrics, start to materialize, because you're not going to have them if you're just starting out. Yes, you can work out your operational costs, and you can work out all the fulfillment costs and things in your business as well. Yes, that'll be good. But at the same time, what you want to also try and understand is, when I'm actually paying for this customer, what is it costing me? How much profit is left? Can I sustain this as a business? So that you can try and figure out at which point can you sustain it, because you can't scale. You can't grow what you can't scale. So after year one, if you don't know those numbers, those basic numbers of what is helping you be profitable, if it's 100 Rand a sale and a 4x or 5x ROAS that's profitable, you're going to struggle to scale past year one, because you don't actually know what those metrics really are. So I say it's a nice learning curve in the initial stages to gather that information for your business, to gather that data, and then be able to scale on top of it after year one. Maybe even happen sooner, never know. Just depends, I guess, what industry and how competitive it is, how good your offers and your marketing is at the end of the day, and trying to get the sales. But yeah, I mean, that's just from my side. At the end of the day, your other main real KPI is to just get sales so that you can learn from that.
I think like, adding on top of that, like, there's also the situation where we talk about POAS, which is profit on ad spend, but as a brand new business, you can't obsess over making profit if you're brand new, because there's so many other things that you have to figure out first in order to actually get the profit. So a lot of people starting out, I've seen this with clients who are maybe, or businesses owners, I'd say, are a little bit more naive, maybe their first time around starting a business. What I see happen is that they're so fixated on making profit as quickly as possible because they're bootstrapping, and the moment they're not making profit and they're going backwards, they actually get anxious and stressed out. So they underestimated how much stress and how much capital it's going to take to get this thing off the ground, because nobody was there to consult them, when this all started. So they come to a marketing agency, and then from day one, they want to see profit because they have to put money back in the business in order to grow it. But the reality is, like, you need to figure out so many other things first in order to understand what is going to make you profit. What I'm saying is, like, you have to figure out the messaging. You have to figure out who's going to resonate with this. You have to figure out what audiences you're going to have to target and so forth. And you're going to have to figure out what campaign structure is going to be best. Is it open? Is it Advantage Plus, or is it traditional top of funnel, middle funnel, bottom funnel? Like, we've tested that quite extensively. In fact, we've got separate ad accounts sometimes to test it specifically, to go, okay, well, this ad account we run Advantage Plus, and this one we do the traditional stuff, and see what works best. And often, it's a mix between the two. You've got traditional structures still working, and then you've got Advantage Plus sometimes working, sometimes not. So it's like, these things you're going to have to test. And if you want to get to a level of profitability, you need to know it's going to cost you more money to get there. Like, it's not now we give Facebook money and we make profit back. It's just not how it works. And in the ideal world, we would always love that. And I think there's a lot of agencies that claim that's exactly how it works, only for the client to realize that that's not the case. So Vian, your book just is on the way. Can't wait to read it. Oh, did we ship it to you? That's cool.
Nice.
So
Nice.
actually, we've got some here. This is a bit. I mean, it's not super
Just-
outdated. Remember this, Gil?
Yeah, I do. I remember
Good
it
times.
all too well.
So I think, long story short, that book was written in 2019, released it in 2020. It might be a bit outdated. I do believe there's still value in it. But I think that we also wrote it in a way where it's the fundamentals of marketing. So it's like, it's almost like it's not too technical based on that year that we found ourselves in. It's more like the foundational of stuff. So I think anybody starting out would benefit from reading it. Okay, we've got time for a couple more questions. I think one or two more questions, to be honest with you guys. So if you want to have a question, just drop it in the comments, and then we should have time to answer it for you, depending on how complex it is. But while we do that, there is one question that we can start reading. So someone said here, how can AI tools to be used to personalize the shopping experience online? I mean, I'm just going to read that again for those listening. How can AI tools be used to personalize the shopping experience online? So I think from my side, there's a bunch of tools that you can use. There's actually one we're testing out, Gil, which I don't want to announce to the world yet, to be honest.
I thought about that as well.
We're going to keep that one up our sleeves for now. You're just going to have to wait, unfortunately, if you're watching this. It seems like it's working. Yeah, follow, subscribe, give us 20,000 rand for the secret sauce. No, I think like there's one that we're testing now that looks like it's working pretty nicely. But I think the general tools that you'll probably find, the first thing is just having a chatbot that can actually integrate with your site, that can scroll all the necessary information on the website regarding the products, who can maybe be trained on your frequently asked questions, that can essentially help deliver, a better pre-purchase experience, because you've got pre-purchase and post-purchase, right? So pre-purchase, a lot of convincing, a lot of education, a lot of selling in theory. Tom, a lot of convincing will have to be done. So it's understanding that a chatbot can help educate the people about the specific product that's best for them. And you get so many tools now. HeyChat, for example, is one, and you can maybe customize your own tool with no-code softwares out there. But the bottom line of these tools specifically is that you upload all the information about your products. It crawls your website to gather a lot of that information for additional context. And then when someone goes, hey, what product is best for me? They will actually go and say, well, let me ask you a few questions. And it will just have like this personal conversation with them. It'll be like a personal assistant that's ready to help people. So imagine you had a store, right? In a physical location, like we're in Sandton City. So let's say you had to walk into a store in Sandton City. What's going to happen is the moment you walk into a store, you're going to be greeted by someone, right? That's just the natural customer service. What happens is, hey, sir, can I help you with something today? It depends on what store you go into, obviously. Like it's not going to happen at Checkers. But the point is, let's say you're walking into a fashion store and you're looking for a shirt. The moment you walk into it, what's going to happen is someone's going to say, hey, is there anything I can help you with today? And they're going to say, yeah, I'm looking for this kind of shirt or not. And then they're going to go, cool, what size are you? And they're going to say, I am a medium or a large. You're going to go, cool, what colors are you looking for? I'm looking for blue and red. That's my favorite color. All right, cool. So we've got these options for you. Is that anything that tickles your fancy? Do you want to test it on? Do you want to go in a fitting room? So that's how customer experience is adding value pre-purchase in physical store locations in the real life. And from a digital perspective, you don't have the luxury of an online store. You don't have the luxury of someone walking in and being, greeted at the door. But you do have options that mimics a similar experience, which is the chatbot, essentially, that's programmed on all the products that you have, that's programmed on all the information about the products and the context of it and the nuances around it, so that if someone's asked a question, it can actually answer those questions for them and give them a good pre-purchase experience. So that's one way. I mean, there's many other ways, but I think that's enough value for that before we move on to one or two other questions, as we're still going to start running out of time. But I think you, in the AI space, maybe there's one or two, I don't know, Gil, is there anything you want to add to that? I think that's basically what I'm asking.
I mean, we actually came across something recently, something called, I think it was Proma AI. It's interesting. Obviously, AI is like taking over, and hence the question. But what this tool does is basically it can look at your site and then look at different sections of your site and give you suggestions and maybe even help you improve your copy, because you're talking about pre-selling. At the end of the day, if someone's going to your site, they're looking at that product and they're looking at the descriptions and seeing benefits and seeing why is there any value in it for them to buy. And this tool actually can go and kind of like look at what you've written out and help you improve certain copy, and kind of adjust it accordingly based off of what you're selling. So there's literally, it's called Promo. I think it's only for Shopify, but I don't know any other tool at the moment. But you're getting these tools that pop up, and literally you can go and actually have them help you just craft better messaging, better product offering, and also just improve where in the conversion funnel potentially you might see drop-offs, and it can kind of help you just spot those things. So I'm interested to see what else we get out there. But yeah, like these are just what we like to call them as awesome sidekicks to have with the AI tools, and we use them ourselves. We just become a lot more efficient at what we do. So yeah, there are these tools coming out, which is going to be very interesting to see what else comes out in the future.
Yeah, exactly. Tom, is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, just a short one. It's interesting when you answer that question, I had a totally different perspectives, which is interesting. But I thought about, in terms of personalizing the online buying experience on e-commerce, the first thing that came to mind was in terms of your marketing assets, the actual visuals of your ads that the end user sees. So let's say in e-commerce, let's say maybe some businesses haven't really invested in creating lifestyle images of their products. And by lifestyle images, we're talking about people in the context of using your product. That's one of them. But also another one is to have imagery in which the end user that you're targeting will be able to be like, wait, this is for me. So you want to, because that adds relevance. Not only do you add relevance with the words that you use in your ads, aka the copy, but also the actual creatives, aka the actual visuals. So one way you can do this is, of course, you can take actual pictures. But let's say, for example, you're selling your product to pharmacists, and let's say you're not finding the right type of pharmacy image in your free platforms for imagery, right? Free stock images. You can actually go into AI tools and prompt it to be like, okay, create a person who looks like this in a pharmaceutical setting with a customer, because you never know who's going to be the actual person who purchases at the end, unless you have a lot of data. So you can create different demographics. So for one I've tested is create same creative but a woman, same creative but a man, younger, older, those kind of things, so that you only be split testing this. And the difference could be, let's say it's a display ad, image ad, or GDN ad. One could have a click-through rate of maybe 40%. Another one can have a click-through rate of 1.2%. That's literally 3x the amount of traffic from the only variable being different. And the only variable that's different is the actual imagery that you're using. Now, of course, click-through rate is one thing. Still going to look at the conversions, the true north kind of KPIs, like the performance of the campaign. But it starts at the top and it comes down to there. So that is one way I could use to kind of use AI to enhance the customer experience in terms of targeting.
Yeah, man, I think there's so many different perspectives that we can dive into. Also, like pre-purchase or post-purchase there's a lot of things that you can do afterwards as well. You've now got agent calling. Would it be feasible to test agent calling, for abandoned carts? Like something I've been thinking about. I'm just a bit hesitant about agent calling purely because of the fact that it still feels not authentic. Like it's not, it's not there yet. Like people know I'm not speaking to a real person.
Yep.
Like it's just not. But I do think the moment they crack it and it's 100% legit, then I would be plugging that into abandoned carts. To be honest with you, because that's one thing that nobody does for e-commerce businesses. They don't speak to people who abandon their carts. Hey, why did you leave? If you had 100 abandoned carts a month and you do 100 cold calls, won't be cold calls, but let's say in theory you did 100 calls to those people on a daily basis, I promise you're probably going to convert 10 to 15% of them, if not more. So you literally be able to increase revenue 10 to 15, 20% if you had someone just phoning people who abandoned their carts, in my opinion. But again, that's theory and hypothesis. So I'm keen to test. The last thing I think was for e-commerce, and it sounds like more like a Google Ads question because they mentioned search and display. So, what is the most effective type of ads for e-commerce? Search, display, performance max, video. So, yeah, I'm assuming it's Google Ads because it's got PMax in it. Yeah, so it says, what's the most effective ad type for e-commerce? Search, display, PMax, video.
For e-commerce, it's going to be PMax. Out of those options
Really?
that you just listed, PMax, correct. For e-commerce specifically.
Better than Google Shopping, eh?
Yeah, so I mean, PMax is a variation of Google Shopping. It's got the elements of it, but if it's for e-commerce,
I suppose it combines all the different things in one, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And also, it's something you need to test because I have seen in some instances where shopping only campaign would get more results. But in terms of historically speaking, I've seen it performance max campaigns would give more. It's more consistent. Yeah.
Okay. Love it. Well, thanks for that, Bruce. I appreciate that. Well, Gil, Tom, nice to have you guys on the call and on the live today. For those watching, listening, thank you so much for tuning in. We had some fun. I will take Andre's advice and give everybody a bit more of a longer heads up next time. Seems like I had a couple of emails last week saying, "Oh, I missed this. Is there a replay?" So, I mean, you can find the replays on the YouTube channel. It's on the YouTube channel. It will stay there, so you can go watch it. We are time stamping the dates, so you can just obviously follow through and see which ones tickles your fancy. But yeah, I enjoy this. Thanks for joining me today, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Cheers, guys.
Cool, man.
Cheers.
Signing out.